Hey students, in this lesson, I want to introduce you to building a media wiki, and that is going to be built on top of the LAMP framework. So when we talk about LAMP, we are talking about Linux, Apache, MySQL or MariaDB, and PHP, a scripting language, or sometimes Python. So there we have the LAMP acronym. And this happens to be a platform that drives many of the websites that you deal with and the public deals with every day. You'll see in the course page that 2 out of every 3 web servers on the internet today are running on Linux. So being familiar with LAMP and installing an auxiliary application like a media wiki on that platform is certainly a good skill set to develop. And as part of our lesson, we will go through all the mechanics of getting the Apache web environment installed and basically configured, putting the MariaDB database on, installing the scripting environment, the whole gamut, including MediaWiki. So I wanted to get you started with that endeavor by first looking at our virtual machines. So here I have my Ubuntu server, and we have the desktop as well. So looks like the desktop wants to do some updating. We'll try to take care of that while we maybe do some other things. But while that's sort of waiting in the background for us, I am going to go over here to my server and look on my configuration and double check the IP address. So I can see that on my particular server, I have the IP version 4 address of 192.168.1.79. You'll want to check and see what your IP address is for your server and make a note of that. Also, in your virtual machine environment, your hypervisor, you'll want to make sure that your settings for the network are set at a bridged adapter for both the server and the desktop, just like you had when you set up the secure shell between the two for communications. So let me see what I have here. Get my desktop going. Let's do the update later. So we have our desktop, and just for grins and giggles, I can double check my IP address on the desktop as well. And you can see that it's 192.168.1.80. So that's just good to know. And we'll keep that in the back of our mind. All right, so we have a server and we have Ubuntu. We can look at the output of a command called uname with the A flag, and we can see that we have Linux Ubuntu server 5.4.0-81 and some information on the processor that it's a 64-bit machine. So we look like we are ready to get going. To do the full project of moving from installing Apache all the way through to getting our media wiki ready, we have a series of steps. I just want to get you jump started today by going through a few of them. So one of the things that we'll want to do is install Apache, which is Apache 2. And we can see right away that our regular user account does not have the sufficient permissions to do that. So in almost all cases, we're going to have to prepend our commands with that account elevation. Okay. And I will put in my user account's password and the process will ensue. Maybe it will. All right. So it really helps not to fat finger anything and be persistent if you have problems. So we will answer yes to the continue, and the process will download and put in various directories our modules and components. So your installation should go smoothly for you as well. At this point, you have a basic web server, which means we should be able to launch the default screen or the default web page from our client. So here we have our handy dandy client, and we should be able to go to Firefox and open that nice browser. We don't want to do that. And we should be able to enter the web address for our server, which we learned was 192.168.179. And voila, we do see the Apache 2 Ubuntu default page. So I'm sure that when you get to this step, you will be thrilled that you succeeded thus far. So at this point, you have a web server with this one welcome page. We've launched it. We can see it. Not gonna win any big design prizes at this point in time. But hey, we've got a good start. We're gonna need to add some content though. And to do that, the first thing we need to do is figure out where exactly to put that content. And Ubuntu users are going to figure out the answer to that question by going and finding a file called 000-default.conf for configuration. And that should be in the etc directory. So let us minimize the page. In fact, we're going to minimize that virtual machine. We're going to go over to our server and we're going to look in the etc directory and a subdirectory called Apache 2. And we'll have to drill down a little bit further. Well, let's just go to that point in time and look and see what's there. We can see that there are several things in this dark blue color, which may be a little bit difficult to see, but there is one that starts with site. So let's look and see what that is. It's called sites available. And we do see that in that sites available folder or subdirectory is that 000.default.conf file. So let's go and change into sites available. And we can do an ls. We see that the configuration file that we're interested in is there. We can open it with VI if we would like to, and we can see that there are a number of comments and a few flags or parameters that are in this file. Of interest to us right now is a parameter called document root, and you'll be able to see that right here on this line with the blinking cursor. And we learned that the document root is in /var/www/HTML. So that's going to be our directory location of interest, var www.html. So I'm going to leave this file and I am going to go to var www.html. And when I do the ls, I see that there is a single file there called index.html. In the web world, there is typically two different file names that are considered the default place to go to launch a web page if only the domain or IP address is given for the web server. We saw in our case, when we put in the IP address for the server, we got a page displayed. That was this index.html. In the Windows Server world, they typically use the name default.html. But here we have index.html. We don't necessarily want to lose this file. We might want to use it again sometime. So I am going to copy index.html to, we'll call it index-back.html. And again, we're going to have to prepend with the account elevation sudo and because we've had enough proximity between our last use of account elevation and now, I wasn't required to re-enter the password. So a little convenience there. Now, we want a little bit of personal flair with our website rather than the somewhat boring or not incredibly informative from our point of view Ubuntu welcome page. We want to create our own page. We do that by making our own index.html. So you may or may not have strong familiarity with the hypertext markup language, but a great way to learn is to look at something that already exists. So let's go ahead and look at that back file we just made, and we can see, maybe we can, we probably have to do some account elevation for that as well. So here we have the default welcome page. So, one way to create your own HTML page is to mimic, copy, borrow items from others. And we can see that the first couple lines here, the less than sign bang doc type is just more or less an informational line to tell the processor a little bit about what our content is. You could borrow that. And then there's the HTML tag. That's what we call the different elements inside of the brackets in hypertext markup language, tags, markup tags. So you could borrow from this. It is a little bit maybe advanced HTML. We certainly don't have to make something nearly this advanced. We can, remove the existing index.html. And we'll see if it lets us actually do that. No, we have to sudo rm index.html. Okay, so now we just have a single file. We can do a long listing, see that it is owned by the root owner in the root group. It's got read permissions for the owner, the group, and actually the world, but only write permissions for the owner. To keep with that mode, let's use account elevation and make our own index.html. And I'm just going to put in some basic information. I am going to use the doc type tag in that angle bracket bang and tell the system that it is HTML. And then we'll have a HTML, probably tell the language is English. And we'll just make a head section. We'll say it's my bio page. And that's probably sufficient for the head section of the HTML. And then we're going to start the body. And you can see that inside the VI editor here on the server, I have not done anything with indenting. The indentation is happening built in with the editor. So that is a little convenience for readability of our code. So we're just going to make a really quick welcome to my page. And this H2 is a way to make a level 2 header. We'll make a couple line breaks and let's see. Because I want to reference a couple different pages, we won't make them right now, but we'll plan for another page. We're gonna reference our personal bio, and we're gonna say that that bio is going to be referenced at another page that we'll put into this same directory, and we'll call it bio.html. And we want, we can put in Debra's bio. And we'll end that a tag with a /a on the end. Okay, so that is one part of our new index page. And we'll put a couple different line breaks in, and maybe we'll say, take a look at my photo. And at some point I will upload a photo, but right now I will put in a reference to it, and it will be done with the image tag. And then we have to tell the source, and the source is just going to be the name of our file, which could be in a PNG, a JPG, or another common internet image format. And in fact, there's probably a better chance that I'll put it in a PNG format. And let's see, that may be all that I need to do. So I'm going to end with the body tag. See how nicely that lined up. And we'll end the HTML as well. And that looks like a sufficiently small, tight, simplistic little web page. And what we want to do now is take a look and see what it looks like. So we will go back to our browser and refresh our page and see that now we have a new index.html. So we have a new message. We have this hyperlink. The file isn't there, so it will be a broken link. And since the photo wasn't there, we have a broken image. But we know that basically we've got a structure to work with, and we'll just fill in additional pieces to make our project grow and grow. So already we've installed the Apache environment, and we've made our own index.html page. We'll just have to boost it up a bit to make it a little bit more full-bodied and prettier. We could put some images even on this main page. So at this point, we will want to move into installing our database engine. And that will be done, again, on the server with our account elevation sudo. Let me clear the screen. So we're going to do account elevation, and then we are going to make sure that we have everything updated on our virtual machine. And then we will want to apt install the MariaDB server. Now, it's mentioned elsewhere, but I'll just take a minute to mention the fact that MariaDB is a derivative of MySQL, and in fact, it uses the MySQL core engine. So if you've used MySQL before, you'll find MariaDB very familiar. All of the ANSI compliant SQL commands will be the same. And so we'll just, we don't even have to wait. Our command prompt is back. So we were not prompted at any point in this process about creating a root user password. So that will mean we'll come to the assumption that the password at this point is blank. So let's use the systemctl command with the status flag, and we will talk about MySQL because, like I said, it's the underlying engine, and we will see information about it being active and running. So everything looks really good so far. I can hit Q to end the output. All right, so that should get you on a pretty good jump start toward installing all of the LAMP components. And I wish you well. It's a great set of skills to have, and we'll be talking again real soon. So I have enjoyed working on this with you. I hope that things go as smoothly for you as they've done for me. If you do have difficulties running 2 VMs simultaneously because of RAM constraints or whatever, it is possible to install all of the LAMP components on your Ubuntu desktop. And if that is the case, you can then open the web browser on that desktop and reference localhost, and that will connect to the, your home machine. So anyways, I sort of wish you the best as you go forward, and much success.